A crazy week of high school football. Week 3 now in the books. It was hot.
It was hot.
It was hot. I thought this fall weather was coming.
It's coming. Hold the faith. Hold the faith. Hold the
Yeah, you
line.
just gotta be patient.
Yeah.
It was 85 in Atherton. I'm like, what are we doing?
Oh, man.
Whew. Welcome to the Cover Cal High podcast. I'm your host, Jake Vanderbrook, alongside Tyler Flips and Adrian Soriano, known as the Grin Master. I've been saying that 3 out of 4 shows already.
Well, that's my
You
trademark,
already
though,
know.
man. That's my trademark.
That is your trademark. Flippy's got the backwards hat. What made you do that?
Wasn't liking the hair this morning, and I ran out of time, so we threw the hat on. It's a shame, too. Just got a haircut, so can't even show it off.
I don't blame you. Yeah, it looks good. Good
I
looks.
appreciate it.
Good looks.
Appreciate it.
So let's get you caught up with week 3 scores. And starting off with De La Salle, they were able to roll past St. Francis, winning 42-7. Utilizing that rushing attack, Dominic Kelly leading the way with 2 rushing touchdowns, while Pittsburgh was able to win a shootout over Archbishop Reardon, 56-42. Mr. Searcy, 4 touchdowns in the pick to lead those Pittsburgh Pirates.
Absolutely. And then we go right on over to Woodside and Hillsdale and it ended up being close. Hillsdale able to take down Woodside, though, 40-30. We'll talk about that more later in the show. And then you got my Lee Longhorns and South City, San Francisco. South City able to get it done against Lee 25-20.
All right, so we go to Foothill College now. I was at this game. Menlo Atherton and Mitty shut down MA 21-0.
Wow.
That defense is pretty good. And then we go to the Saturday game. Everybody was talking about it.
A lot of talk.
St. John Bosco and Sarah, and it was a no contest.
We expected that.
It was kind of expected for the most part. Bosco 56-16. No shame for those Potters, though. No shame.
No shame at all. The Padres dropped to 1-2. They have a bye week, and then they get ready for WCAL play. But moving over to Berkeley, they were able to take care of business, beating Deer Valley 24-7, while Half Moon Bay was able to steal one in Atherton, beating Sacred Heart Prep 22-21. Half Moon Bay decides to go for 2. With just under 2 minutes left to go in the game, and it paid off.
That's good stuff right there. And then we go on over to McClymonds and Bishop O'Dowd and the Mac House getting it done.
No, this was at O'Dowd.
This was at O'Dowd.
This was at
Excuse
O'Dowd.
me.
O'Dowd.
Well, McClymonds still able to get it done. 28-14. You know, I think I just assume the Mac House travels. I say the Mac House.
Hey, they travel well, man.
Yeah, they do.
They
I just kind
travel
of call
very
them
well.
the Mac House as a whole. But it was at O'Dowd, and McClymonds able to get it done 28-14. And then Salesian and College Prep. And
College Park.
Salesian. College Park.
I know. It's morning, man. You know, we needed a coffee.
I know. Good grief. Crying out loud. Anyway, with that being said, Salesian and College Park, 26-21. Salesian able to take them down.
Then how about those Wolves, man?
Okay.
Finally, a signature win for them. 31-15 over Clayton Valley. And the big game in San Jose. Santa Teresa in overtime
Overtime. Wow.
defeated Pioneer 41-35.
That's good stuff right there. We love that. We love
Be
that.
on the lookout for those Saints. All right, so let's recap some of those games. Out in the peninsula, in San Mateo, Hillsdale able to get the job done,
Yeah.
beating Woodside.
A big statement game, and not to mention Dante Allendorf, Hillsdale's running back, almost putting up a school record, single game
Wow.
rushing record, just 53 yards shy of it. Putting up, it was just about 260 some yards. It was unreal performance by Allendorf, being able to do what he did and just running all over that Woodside defense. It was great. I mean, he had a 35-yard rushing touchdown, a 50-yarder, and a 60-yarder, not to mention everything in between. So it was a great performance, statement game by Hillsdale to take down Woodside in the way that they did. It was a shootout the first half of football, but then it came down to it the second half that Hillsdale ran away with it.
Yep.
Yeah, and what Tyler, what are some of the things that stands out about these fighting nights? I mean, what are some of the tools and keys to success that they need to take into consideration when they get ready for league play? What stands out about this team?
Well, I'll look at both sides of it. The strong side is obviously is their run game. Shout out to their offensive line. I mean, that's the
Yep.
first thing you got to shout out, right? The big guys up front, able to provide the gaps that they did. And if they could do that throughout the entirety of this season, like they did for Allendorf last Friday night, they are going to do exceptionally well. Now, I think where they can maybe improve and look to get stronger on is their defense. That's the only thing. I think they let up few too many points against Woodside. If they could see improving upon their defense and limiting the amount of times their opponent finds the end zone, I think they're going to be a very strong team going into league play.
Yeah. So a good statement win for those Hillsdale Fighting Knights. And now let's talk a little bit about that St. Francis De La Salle game. St. Francis, tough test for them going to Concord to battle De La Salle. De La Salle, we know what they can do. Run the ball.
There it is.
And they did exactly that. 42-7 victory over those Lancers.
And you know what? This is the De La Salle of old. This is the De La Salle of old. Anything that St. Francis couldn't capitalize on, I think they had like a missed field goal or something like that. De La Salle just came back down and scored.
Yep.
This is typical De La Salle. Right here.
The good old days.
And you know what? And just I'm going to piggyback off what you said about linemen. These guys, their bread and butter is their offensive linemen. They might not be as big, but hey man, they have all the technique down, they have everything down, and that really leads to a really good running game. Right? Pound the rock.
Yep.
Pound the rock.
And I have to say, we've talked about it last week, and we're going to continue talking about is the depth at the running back position.
Absolutely.
It's beyond a prime asset for a team and a defense worst nightmare. If you have 3 darn good running backs, it's like, how do you stop it? How do you stop it with fresh legs constantly coming in?
And don't forget Toa Fa'ave.
Absolutely.
Right. He can run too.
Yep.
So, you know, that's why DeVere is so hard to defend. It's a triple option. He can hand it off. He can pass. He can keep it. You just don't know what to expect.
Absolutely.
De La Salle looking like the good old Spartans that we know,
Yep.
improving to 3-0 on the season. Kingston Kianai for St. Francis had 114 rushing yards. So what does this say about St. Francis? I think the only thing that you can do in this case is just regroup and get ready for WCAL. They have that bye week this week. Just regroup, and they just got to get back to playing good old Lancer football.
Yeah. And you know what? They're making a name for themselves. And don't be surprised if these guys win league this year. Don't be surprised, man. Their defense is they're solid, right? I mean, obviously, I think Sarah is still the favorite, in my opinion, just because it's Sarah. And Patrick Walsh will find a way. But you know, I think this is probably the first time in a while where the West Catholic League is wide open. Anybody can win this league. Absolutely anyone can win this league.
Yeah, and one of those teams, that could be Reardon.
Absolutely.
It
There
could
you
be
go.
Reardon. We saw them in action at Pittsburgh, and that was a shootout.
Tell me about hey.
You were at that game.
This is Jake's opportunity to say, I told you so. You called it.
I called it. I said both teams are going to crack 40 points. I will say this. That didn't look like the case after one quarter because it was 28-7. But my, oh my, Reardon made adjustments to make this game real interesting going into halftime. It was only like a 7-point game
At halftime, right?
Wow.
at halftime. So it's like, okay, we got to put Reardon on the map here. So, you know, taking away from this game, shout out to Reardon for fighting back in this one because they could have easily said, okay, well, you know, it is what it is. No, they said, screw it. We're going to fight.
Love it.
And they made it one hell of a game. And, you know, keep in mind, Reardon didn't have Chris Lawson out there.
And they still almost beat them. Well, they were in it until the end,
Right.
right?
Right.
That says a lot about Adhir Ravipati,
Yep.
right? He's that kind of a coach. Man, he is not going to let his team give up. They're going to keep fighting until the end. And that was the same thing the week before when they played St. Bonaventure, right? They were down big early. They came back, almost won it in the end, right? Didn't turn out that way. Same thing with the Pitt game. Down early in the first quarter, fought back. They were in it. They were within striking distance. But, you know, that just says a lot about what Pitt has. You know,
Yeah.
They're just so loaded offensively. And when they need to make a play on defense, they do.
Yep, and they did that in the fourth quarter. They had a big interception in the middle of the fourth quarter. That was Jamar Searcy. He had a pick that pretty much sealed it for them. And then right after, Elijah Bowe racked up his second touchdown of the night. But Jamar Searcy had one heck of a game. Over 160 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns. Dude, when he runs the ball, he looks like Adrian Peterson out there. I'm
Really?
just saying, yeah.
Wow.
Like when he cuts loose, it's like, man.
Don't get in
like,
his way.
And
Yeah.
then like when he celebrates, he does the one knee. It looked like Adrian Peterson out there. He was exploding, and I'm like, dang, Pitt can really run the ball. We knew that all along.
Yes.
Sure.
Yep.
But when you get to see it in action, it's like, wow, crazy. Give credit to Pittsburgh. That's a hard fought win. They did deal with some adversity going in the halftime, but they made adjustments.
Yep.
They made adjustments, and in the fourth quarter, the defense stepped up when it was needed most, and they had to make a play, like you said. That interception was crucial. They had a couple sacks down the stretch. So give credit to Pittsburgh, but now they're going up against a tough test. They have
Yep.
to go to Bosco.
Yes, they do.
That ain't easy.
Nope.
No.
It's a buzzsaw.
What does Pittsburgh have to do to knock off Bosco?
I'm gonna leave that one to you. That's
You know,
a tough one.
I'm gonna say I'll say the same thing, like what I said on the last show. Pittsburgh needs to play perfect football, right? Do they have a better shot of beating Bosco than Sarah? I think so. I feel like
Really?
offensively they're better, right? Defensively, when they need to make a play, they will. But this is still St. John Bosco. This is still one of the nationally ranked teams, in Southern California.
Right.
It's either them or Mater Dei for the Open Division state game. Not gonna say that it's impossible, but it's a tall mountain to climb for Pittsburgh.
And the one thing that I wonder, Pittsburgh, with their win, they didn't have Jaden Hudson out there. He's one of the top DBs in the country. And I wonder if he's going to play in this game. He's
Yeah.
out with an injury, didn't play, but hopefully he'll be back on the field, if not this week, but come league play for sure. But I wonder if he's going to play in this game. I really wonder.
Pittsburgh, they've done this before, right? They traveled to Centennial, I think, a couple years ago. Yeah, they got beat, but
Yeah.
that really just speaks to, they're not afraid to face better competition, to really test
Yeah.
themselves. And you know what? Even though they're gonna lose this game, and there's a prediction right there. I think they're gonna lose this game. I don't think it's gonna be as bad as Sarah, but this is really gonna prepare them for league play. And hey, is this finally the year they're gonna beat De La Salle? Is this finally the year? I don't know. This could be
That'd
the
be
year.
a sight to see. That might be a tall order.
It is a
but-
tall. It hasn't happened since
Yeah.
like '91.
But hey, I'm always
So-
calling for an upset. I love me an underdog. I love me an upset. So I'm here for it.
And when I mentioned Jaden Hudson being out, it allows these young guys to step up. Kenny Ward was phenomenal as a DB. Phenomenal. He had a pick six. They lined him up as a slot receiver, and they used him on offense, and he was also able to get a touchdown there. So it's like, this is a golden opportunity for him to see who this kid is and who he's really about. So this is a great opportunity for not just Kenny Ward, but also this Pirates D to go up against a nationally ranked team and say, hey, let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this game's going to be a lot closer than the Bosco Sarah game.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a lot closer.
I think Pitt's going to stay in it for quite a while.
Love to see it.
They just
Love
need
see
to
it.
take advantage. Like if they're given a chance to score off a turnover or something, they have to do that, right? Sarah didn't really do that last week. Right? I think it was kind of close in the first quarter.
Yep.
And then Bosco just said, all right, that's enough of you
That's
guys.
enough of
right?
you.
If
Yep.
they give you a little inch, you need to take that and you need to run away with it. Right? Because Bosco, they don't make mistakes often. They don't.
Yeah.
So-
So this is the best Bay Area matchup that we have this
Yep.
week.
Yeah.
Not a lot of good games, but the West Catholic League is off this week. So
Out
this
in
is
the
their typical bye
peninsula,
week. Yeah.
Menlo taking on Cappuccino.
Man, this is an interesting game.
Very interesting.
Menlo had a big win last week too.
Yes,
did.
they
Yep.
did. Beating Los Altos
It was like
They put up
56
Yeah.
to 6.
Yep. Statement game for
They
sure.
got a guy named Jack Freehill who threw for 3 touchdown passes. They got Chuck Wynn with the rushing attack. He had 2 touchdowns with 91 yards. Menlo's a good team, and they're going to be a threat in the Bay Division.
Yeah.
But Cappuccino, so last year they were in the Ocean Division.
Yes.
They won league. Now they're in the De Anza Division.
Yep.
So, this is a good test for Cappuccino on its home field to go up against a stronger team out in the Bay Division. What does Cappuccino have to do to get this one on its home field?
I think they got to stop the passing game, right? I mean, I've covered Menlo a lot over the past couple years. They love to pass the ball, right? That's their bread and butter. Can Cappuccino stop the passing game, or can they limit it to a point where they can take advantage later in the game, right? Because they like to run,
Right.
They will run the ball, right? Can they do something on defense? I think that's going to be the key in this game, is defensively. Can they stop that passing game?
It'd be interesting to see. I know little to nothing about Menlo's team. I saw Cappuccino a couple times last year, and same thing. They love to run the ball, so it'll be very interesting to see. I really don't know what to expect out of that. I'll take your word for it, Age, because I don't know much about Menlo's football team, so it'll be interesting to see. That's a fun matchup.
Cappuccino has a guy named Bobby Gomez, and he looks comfortable under center. We saw him in action at Terra Nova. 3 touchdown passes in the victory. He looks calm in the pocket, and when he was able to roll out to his left and right, he was able to make the plays. So I think for him, it's just taking care of the football and just play a clean game. Play a clean game. Trust your guys up front. Utilize that rushing attack. They have Lucas Zayak pounding the ball for them, who can also make some plays in the passing game.
Yeah.
So it's just trust your guys. And I think if they do that, they're going to be in this game.
Yeah.
And Menlo's a good team.
They are a
I
good
think
team, yeah.
I think this is going to be a high scoring game.
Love it.
I think so too.
Love me some offense.
Right. Hey, it could come down to the end of the game where, someone needs to make a play defensively. It could very well come down to that. And, Jake almost went 2-0 last week in his predictions. So,
I know.
Whatever he says this week, I'm going to go with it. Hey, he got the Reardon Pitt game correct, and he almost got that Menlo Atherton Midi game correct. I mean, there was no score at the half, and then Midi just said it.
Yeah, and shout out to Danny Sullivan for making second half adjustments.
Yeah.
Because that was crucial down the stretch. But MA, they're going to be okay. They're going to be just fine. That's just a tough loss for them, and they're going to regroup. No question about it. But for Midi, hats off to Danny Sullivan, that Monarch squad. They know what they're doing. That's a big win for them to improve to 3-0 on the season. And now, that bye week, they're going to take the time to rest and get settled for WCAL play. That's going to be one heck of a ride in
Can't
that
wait.
league.
I mean, West Catholic League wide open this year.
Wide open.
Midi, I'm officially putting Midi as a dark horse to win that league.
Big
They
statement.
look good. They look good.
Okay.
And we know
Right?
they like to share their cookies.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Let everyone get a bite.
Hey man, they love us. They
You
love
get
the
a
show.
bite. You get a bite. You get a bite.
Yeah, hey man, they love us. They love the show, man. Shout out to those Monarchs.
So now we're going to make our way over to the volleyball poll, and we have chaos.
Chaos.
my
Utter
goodness.
chaos.
I was camping last weekend, and I was looking at the scores. I'm like, what in the world just happened? So here we go. We're gonna go with the
Talk about
volleyball poll right
dedicated.
now.
He's out camping looking at
I
volleyball
mean,
scores.
hey,
He's
I just can't
dedicated.
get away.
That
I
guy's
just can't get
dedicated
away.
by the
I
campfire.
can't get away.
Should be
you
telling
know?
stories. He ain't hanging out, but no,
Man.
I gotta look at volleyball scores.
Yeah, I took a
Dedicated.
peek. I took a peek. So I don't really think there's a true number one. I think it's like a 1A and 1B in my opinion. But we need to have a number one and number two. So in my poll, I'm gonna put St. Ignatius number one. So they went 2-0 last week. Beat Lincoln SF and beat Valley Christian. Then we have Branson. Branson is number 2 now. They beat Marin Catholic on Friday. And then they go on to beat Midi and St. Francis.
That's
the top 2 teams in our poll last week.
Bonkers.
How insane is
I
that?
saw Branson last year, and they were really, really good.
They're a good team.
That's shocking. Not to knock them off.
I didn't see
but
that coming.
No one
I
saw
didn't
that
see
coming.
it. I don't think anybody saw it coming.
Yeah.
And then we have St. Francis number 3, beat Redwood, which we covered in the show. They lost. No. They beat Marin Catholic. St. Francis did, and they lost to Branson. Then we have Redwood at number 4. they had a tournament. I think they went undefeated in their tournament this past weekend. Only loss was to St. Francis. Logan stays at 5. I mean, listen, I think this is the perfect spot for them.
Right in the middle, yeah.
Unfortunately, their league is just too weak, right? Nothing. I'm not taking anything away from the Mission Valley League. It's just a little bit too weak when
It's
you
just
compare it
not
to
at the
other
same
leagues.
level
No.
as the WCAL
or the
what
East Bay League.
Right.
It's just not the same. Then you have Marin at 6.
I like that.
Marin,
think
even
that's
though
good.
yes, they did lose to Branson, they did lose to St. Francis, but they did beat Mitty, the number 1 team, right? They did beat Mitty, and I have Mitty going all the way down to number 7. They beat Reardon,
Yeah.
and then those 2 losses this
A
past
couple
weekend.
tough losses, yeah.
Then San Ramon Valley at number 8 went 2-0. They beat Dublin and Foothill. Foothill is back at number 9. They went undefeated in their tournament this past weekend, including beating Rockland. So I think Rockland's like one of the good teams in Saco-Keen.
Yep.
Only lost to San Ramon Valley, which our great producer Nikon covered. That went to 5 sets. And Palo Alto rounds out the poll at number 10. They beat Sacred Heart, Los Altos, Kennedy Fremont, Monte Vista, Menlo Atherton, and they did lose to Foothill. So I have Palo Alto at number 10. And that rounds out our very chaotic volleyball poll.
And it's chaotic. Again, we talked about, I think I brought this up last week on the show. These teams in these tournaments play so many games. Look in that list of like defeated, all these teams
Yeah.
and play all the way through. I mean, that is crazy, the endurance that they got to have to get through those. It's impressive.
St. Francis Mitty.
Oh,
Tuesday.
Oh, and Mitty St. Ignatius on Thursday.
Oh,
So,
boy.
You know, I mean, it's like I said, this is like a 1A and 1B.
Something tells me this poll is going to get some more movement.
It will absolutely change by the end of this week.
One
I'll
week,
say that right now.
1 week, you're going to be number 3 on the poll.
And all of a
Next
sudden,
thing you know, you could be number 10.
or you could drop out. You just never know.
And don't forget, Adrian's always watching. If he's
I'm
at
watching.
a camp,
I'm
on a
watching.
countdown,
Trust me.
or he's in the office, he's watching.
I'm watching.
You're not getting away.
Yep.
That poll's being
Well,
under watchful eye.
But it just tells you how great these teams are. It's just and the competitive nature of volleyball in this area, and you just never know what you're going to expect, and that just
Exactly.
makes things so exciting.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I couldn't agree more.
So on the football now, so De La Salle, number 1.
Yep.
Not surprised. Mm-hmm. Go through the list, Age.
Well, De La Salle, number 1. Pittsburgh, number 2. Sarah, yes, they did lose to Bosco, who was a nationally ranked team. I still have them at number 3. They're bye this week, and so are all the West Catholic teams. Pitt's playing Bosco this week. De La Salle's playing at St. Mary's of Stockton. That's a good test for those Spartans. And then San Ramon Valley, number 4. They beat Clayton Valley last week, and now they got to go on the road against McClymonds. Does not get any easier for those McClymonds Warriors.
Tough to play at the Mac House, though.
I know.
How many times have I said that this show?
Well, which San Ramon Valley team will show up, though, is my question.
That's a
Will it
great
be
question.
the team that basically really, really dominated Clayton Valley for the most
They
part?
did.
Or are they going to be the team that needed a last-second touchdown to beat SoCal?
True.
We don't
Never know.
We
Never
don't know. Right? St. Francis, number 5. Again, they did lose to De La Salle, but it was the number 1 team in our poll. So, you can't really penalize them as much. Los Gatos, number 6. They beat it Live Oak. They're playing Mountain View this Thursday. Reardon stays, I think, at number 7. Again, Pittsburgh's the number 2 team in our poll, man. You cannot really penalize them. And just, the fact that they really stayed in it until the end, after being down really big in the first quarter, that a lot of props to those Reardon Crusaders.
Huge, yeah.
El Cerrito, number 8. Now, see, I'll get back to El Cerrito in a minute. Los Lomas, number 9. They beat Tamalpayas this Saturday. They're playing Alhambra. And McClymonds rounds out our poll at number 10. They beat Bishop O'Dowd 28-14. And they're hosting St. Francis. Oh, not St. Francis. San Ramon Valley. San Ramon Valley. I know. I need my coffee. So, now, let me go back to El Cerrito.
Yeah, asterisks next to
So
that one.
I don't know
Interesting.
if this game counts against Oakland Tech.
I was curious how that works.
We were gonna shoot that game.
Right.
Ivan Garcia was there, and then we get a text that people were panicking and everyone was getting evacuated. I guess there was a fight that broke out and just craziness happened. So I don't know what's going to happen. They called the game in the second quarter, and so we had to make an audible, and we had Ivan go to Bishop O'Dowd, and we
Yeah.
got that second half against McClymonds. So
And I mean, it was a close game. It was El Cerrito at Oakland Tech,
Yep,
6-0,
6-0.
10 minutes to go still in the second quarter. I mean, that was anybody's ball game at that
Yeah.
point. So to say that, it's tough to say, what could have been. It's a real shame that, that game had to be called off. And I'm curious what the technicalities look like
Yeah.
after that.
It's like, why did they take that away from the kids?
It's a darn shame.
I just don't
that
know.
grinds my gears.
Yeah.
I don't know
absolutely.
what exactly happened. I mean, Ivan was there. They're saying they're investigating it, and,
Yeah.
and they're trying to figure out if the game's going to count or if they're going to continue the game. I don't know
Because
what's going to happen.
you can't count as a forfeit. I feel like it's unfair to both teams.
No.
Yes, the
Yep.
score. If anything, let's try to reschedule that.
Yeah, for sure.
Come back to it.
And one more thing before we wrap up here. Keep in mind that some of these teams that are on the poll, some of these teams are going to be on the road for the first time. San Ramon Valley,
Yeah.
first road game
That's a
at
great
the Mac
point.
House. De La Salle, they're going to be on the road for the first time, going up against St. Mary's of Stockton. So, we could be seeing a lot of changes in this poll.
We'll
Great
see what
point.
happens, by the end of this week.
Yep.
See what happens.
All right, that about does it. And I think it's safe to say you've been covered. We'll see you next time.